Now, if you were to mix The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, The Selection by Kiera Cass, add in a little bit of BIPOC characters, you'd end up with Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tilley. Guys, this, hmm, this was an interesting book. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Shelly. I'm a lover of all things books. We discuss everything here. We'll discuss the scandals, we'll discuss the drama, but we are also discussing great books that we've read, which is what we're doing today. This is one of my first reviews of the 2024 year. I know it's late, but we're here, guys. And I'm reviewing the first book in a series by Nisha J. Tilley. And guys, I had fun reading this book because weirdly enough, I will say before we even start on this review that this book was a bit predictable. And I don't know if that was because I've read so many books, especially so many books in the genre with some of the similar tropes, or was it actually just a predictable book in itself? But regardless of the predictability, it was an enjoyable book, which is why I think you should definitely pick it up. Because if you can manage to do that, but still grip me to the point that I am turning and turning and turning and reading a book in a single sitting and one night and forgo sleep, then I would say that that is a good book. And I hope that you'd agree. So let's get into the actual plot of the book. So this book is about a young girl named Lore. She is basically a prisoner in the kingdom of the Aurora King, and she is a prisoner with her siblings. And when I say prisoner, I mean prisoner. This book starts off brutal from the very beginning. It is describing the conditions in the prison that they're in. So the prison that they're in is a prison full of people who've committed treason, people who have just, were part of a regime that was taken over. Like, it is a horrible place. The conditions are terrible. The brutality in the beginning, from the beginning, I was shocked. It was giving YA dystopian. I'm like, okay, I know dystopian is not something that's odd in YA, but I thought it was just going to be strict fantasy. A dystopian fantasy? Now we're talking. This was giving it to me. I said, wow. Now you've definitely have me gripped, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. Now, one of the things that this book had going for it is the fact that it was very descriptive, but not in a bad way, okay? And that's what I loved about it. I was able to get a good idea of the setting, the characters, everything that was going on, the stakes, everything in a very clear way, without being too irritated or without feeling like the author was behaving in a condescending manner. So I'm just like, yeah, you're doing well. So basically, yes, it is about Lore, and she's a prisoner, and prisoner of the Aurora King and his kingdom and his prison system. And one day, yeah, she gets punished, and she gets basically kidnapped, and she finds herself in the Sun King's palace. And she's just like, wait a minute, what just happened here? And she is thrown into this selection plus Hunger Games type of event where a bunch of women, a bunch of young ladies, and all of the other ladies are young nobles from the Sun King's kingdom who will compete to be the next queen. And she's just like, first of all, I'm not part of your kingdom. One, I'm not a noble. Two, what is going on here? She has no idea why she was kidnapped, why she was brought into it. And she's just like, what exactly are you trying to get me to be a part of? A deadly game? Like, she's just like, no. But because she sees the prize as a kind of escape, as in, if she wins, she'll become the Sun Queen, which means he might be able to help her rescue her siblings. And she's just like, okay, for them, I'm willing to do anything. And so she says, you know what? The odds are not in my favor, okay? As the Hunger Games would say, may the odds be ever in your favor. In this situation, it's very much the odds are never in her favor. But she's willing to risk it, because if there's even a chance that she can save them, she's going to take it, and that's what she does. And so she throws herself in, and she's getting ready to just compete. And it's very, very hilarious because though she is the lowest of the low amongst the other competitors, though she is not even part of them, so they're already looking down on her, the king already seems to have a favorite. And guess who that is? So this book takes us through the trials that she goes through and the interactions that she has with the contestants, with the king, and with the king's guard, who has been made to kind of be her protector and her guide, essentially, since she is like, a stranger. And we've just taken through all these trials and all of these different rounds. And all the while, we know that she's holding a secret. Like, we're just like, okay, there's a secret that you're holding. And we're also seeing that the king himself, he has a secret, because he definitely knows more than he's letting on. And it's just like, okay, the intrigue follows us throughout the entire story. You kind of get hints. Like I said, it's kind of predictable. You're kind of just like, I kind of see where this is going. I kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. But you're still like, nah, I still want to see. And also, it's so fast paced. Like, even the beginning where they're setting the scene and telling us the history, there's fights happening, there's a bunch of brutal actions and brutal scenes happening. And then we get to the actual kidnapping, where she's kidnapped and she gets thrown into this competition. The competition is intense. So throughout, your intrigue is kept up. You're not left like, oh, small times of just not caring. No. And this one, when it comes to this one, I'm like, I wouldn't categorize it as a romantasy, but I can tell that the second book might be more in the romantasy lane, because there was romance in this book, but I'm just like, is this romance or is this lust? Okay. And even with the lust, is there real feelings behind it? Are the feelings mutual? Like, there's a lot going on in this book, and it's like, wow, this story is intricate, it's well told, and I'm just gobbling it up. Like I said, I read this in one sitting, in one night, and yes, I forgo sleep. I forgo rest. I forwent sleep. I I was just like, no. With every chapter that went by, I was just like, I need to know what's going on. Like, there's no way I am not going to figure out what happens next. Also, one of the characters in this book, one of the important characters, the Sun King, his name is Atlas. He's very interesting because throughout this book, you're like, okay, you've shown favor, you've shown that she's already a favorite, but immediately, no, 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 no. First of all, you had her kidnapped. Now you're just favoring her, and we don't know why. We know that you're looking for something, and we're just like, what is your attachment to her? Because she is an orphan, that's why, she's living with her siblings. They don't have parents. I'm just like, were you related to her, her past family? Were they like wards of you, and you want to like protect their daughter? Like, what's going on here? Like, there is clearly something going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to yet, that is slowly being hinted at as well. So you're just like, I don't know if I can trust you. Simply because you're showing her favor and you're being nice and you're appearing as a good guy doesn't mean that I'm going to take your word for it that you are the good guy. So it's a really, really interesting part of the story that you have to follow. Like, while you're following her and her journey and her struggles, you're also thinking about Atlas and whether or not he is someone who can be trusted. And if he isn't, what are his ulterior motives? Like, what is the end game that he is plotting for? Who will be the winners and who will be the losers? Will Laura be a winner? Will she be a loser? Like, yes, he has an ulterior motive, but if that ulterior motive puts Laura at the top, if it benefits her, like, really, should we be worried? Should we even care? Should we not allow him to get through with his plot? And all of these thoughts are going through your mind and going through your head, and you're just like, I don't know where to land. And that's one of the things that makes this book really, really interesting, because it's just like, okay, there are some conflicting emotions everywhere. You're just like, I don't know who I should be supporting. I know I should be supporting Lore, but outside of her, who else am I supporting? Because outside of the king, there is this prince called Nadir. And Nadir is the prince of the Aurora Kingdom. So the kingdom that, basically treated her as a prisoner, and a terrible prisoner at that, they've recognized that, she's gone missing. At least Nadir has recognized it, because some people, they've just kind of brushed it off. But he's just like, no, 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 something is sketchy here. So he's doing investigating, and he's just like, who is this prisoner? And while he has like this honor about him, it's kind of like, well, there's only so much I can trust this honor, because you are also a prince. You're highborn, and I know that you have some biases that even you probably aren't aware of or that you won't acknowledge. So he's very much, oh, my father is evil, because the Aurora King, yeah, he definitely is evil. Like, I don't think anyone can deny that part. He's definitely evil. And the deer is just like, my father is evil. I don't want to be anything like him. Da 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 da. So it's like, oh, I want to do the right thing. But it's a case of, he looks at prisoners as prisoners. He's just like, while some of these people might not even be here for any legitimate reasons, it might just be my father's nefarious plots at play. He still has that a prisoner mentality. Or yeah, he definitely like just has this sketchy behavior as well. And so I'm just like, I also don't really know how I feel about you. So yeah, I'm just like, while I can sense what's going to happen, in the sense that we know when it comes to these stories, we end up with a love triangle, or we end up with someone who we thought was bad but isn't bad. I'm just like, what if they all end up being evil? It's giving me that vibe, because I'm just like, I don't particularly like you initially. Sometimes I like you, but sometimes I don't. So Nadir is it gave me some conflicting emotions, that one definitely. So it's definitely like a very, very like interesting book. One thing I will say is that I do enjoy the side characters in this book. I feel like they definitely added character to the book itself. Like you gave it energy, you gave it its like humor and its like personality, and I love that. And with something like this situation where Laura is taken away from all she's known, I'm just like, okay, I don't want it to be a case where you're thrown into the pits, you're thrown into the deep end, which is what she's thrown into, with people who obviously see you as nothing but dirt. I don't want people to have like this complete, 180 where they're her best friends immediately. No, no, no. You all have your biases that you've made pretty clear, and it's not even fake biases. It's really just you guys have biases, and we've acknowledged that, and I'm happy that no one like became best friends with her. It wasn't a case like that, and I'm just like, okay, see, that's realistic. We can't have the fake friendship pulling out of the woodwork. I can understand character development. I can understand someone acknowledging that they are wrong and seeing change or doing something because they want to pay back a favor. I can understand that, but I don't want anything of, oh, we're turning around, we're gonna be best friends because we feel sorry for you. Now they treated her like crap. They treated her like crumb. They kept the energy going. I'm like, I can work with that. And then there's just so much mystery in this book. Like, there's a mystery about who Lore is because her identity is veiled in secrecy. She alludes to it. Everyone else is alluding to it. And they're all alluding to her connection to this, this realm that is no longer there anymore because the realm was basically wiped out. And I'm just like, see, this is where the predictability comes in. I'm like, it's giving that you're very much related to that realm in an important way. And so it does have this predictability in it, but then because of how the story is told, at the same time, it's like, oh, this is predictable. But it leaves just enough room to keep you doubting and questioning whether the hints that they've dropped were real hints, or were they a distraction? Were they a misdirection? I'm just like, okay, so you're giving me a bit of thriller vibes because now you're trying to have me solve a mystery while I'm focusing on these trials, while I'm rooting for my girl, while I'm trying to figure out who's her match. Like, it's going, I'm like, okay. I can root for a story like this. I can definitely root for a story like this. There are 2 more books in the series, and I'm just like, okay, I could definitely get into it. So this one basically, it came out last year in the UK, but it was already released a few years ago, but it was only released in Canada and I think in America. I'm not too sure, but yeah, the author is Canadian based, and so it was released in Canada first. But last year it finally got released in the UK along with the second book, and I believe the third book as well. So they all kind of came out around the same time. So I read the first book and I have the second book here. I'm gonna get the third book because I'm curious. I'm very curious as to like how everything is going to pan out. Like, with the way this book ended, the first book ended, it's like, oh, we're gonna have some drama, like some delicious drama as well. We're going to have some confusion. We're going to have some people we can't trust, but who we have to trust. I can definitely see some forced proximity happening here. I can definitely see some enemies to lovers happening. I can see a lot of other tropes. I can see bad guy being destroyed. I can see bad guy taking over everything. I can see a lot of things happening. But like I said, the way the story is written, some hints are given, and it's just leading you to wonder, is this misdirection or is this really a hint? So you really have to get to the very, very last page to truly actually see whether or not these hints pan out and how everything ends up. And it's like a case of wow. And the thing is, even while she's at court, at this Sun King's court, I don't know who to trust, because I'm just like, as time goes by and as I'm reading more, it's very apparent that some people are not who they seem, or some people have connections deeper than what we thought. And we're really curious as to who's on whose side and who has what connections where. I was so baffled at certain points, and I'm just like, I can't tell you guys specifically because it's a spoiler. And it's just like, we don't know where to go from here. But all I will tell you is that this book was it was a really, really good book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it like a 4-star, 4.25 star, because like I said, it's really good. The plot was good, the characters were good, the action was good, like everything was really, really good. But also, like I said, it was quite predictable. So I'm just like, I can't really give you too high of a rating because I basically guessed everything. But with that predictability still, it still had me turning the pages like a wild child. So if you're able to do that, I consider you like a really, really good book. So yeah, I do tell you to go and pick up Trial of the Sun Queen, and also go and pick up the rest of the series. I'm definitely going to be reading them, and hopefully I can review them as well. I hope that it ends well, because honestly, who knows where this book is going to go. I feel like we're going to get a few deaths as well. I feel like some people are going to be, and yeah, especially because like I said, this is giving dystopian fantasy, not just YA fantasy. Like, it's giving YA dystopian fantasy. So we know dystopian, they always off someone who we love at the very end. So yeah, there are no promises. Actually, I just clocked. Now that I'm remembering it and recalling some details, I'm not too sure this is YA. Probably NA, like new adult. New adult is like, you've just left the YA world. So it's still kind of YA typecasted. Like, it's kind of like, it still kind of reads like a YA, but at certain points it reads like a NA, because sometimes the brutality, or certain things that happen, sometimes it get into like small steamy scenes, but it's not like fully adult. So I'm like, it's not YA, but it's not like fully adult either. So it's definitely, I think, NA I would classify it as. But ultra fun book, and because of the fast pace, it is a quick read for you as well. So definitely pick this up. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to read the rest of the books, and I think this series is going to be a very, very fun one to see how everything gets wrapped up and turns out. So yeah, definitely a good book that I would recommend 100%. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you pick up this book, and I hope you enjoy it. So until next time, guys, this was Shelly. I am obviously a lover of books who will continue to be giving you reviews of books that I like, and even sometimes books that I don't like. So be sure to tune in, like, comment, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Until next time, guys. Bye.